HarperCollins presents Shattered Lands, 5 Partitions, and the Making of Modern Asia. Written and read by Sam Dalrymple. Content warning. Please note, this book contains racially charged language and depictions of racism that some may find distressing. Listener discretion is advised. To Mum and Dad. Introduction. You can't actually see the Great Wall of China from space. It's a myth. Even if you were to squint your eyes whilst peering down at Earth from the International Space Station, you wouldn't be able to see it. But the border wall dividing India from Pakistan is unmistakable. For more than 3,000 kilometres from the Arabian Sea to the ice caps of Kashmir, a line intended to divide Hindus from Muslims is visibly etched onto the surface of the globe. 3 layers of fencing, 3.5 metres high, are accompanied by 150,000 floodlights, thermal vision sensors and rows of landmines. This wall has, for the most part, rendered Indians and Pakistanis completely inaccessible to one another. And until recently, one of the only times that they could interact without going abroad was to attend a ceremony at the Wagah border post. Here, every evening at sunset, 2 national flags would be lowered, and the turbaned border security forces of either country proceeded to aggressively goose-step at one another in a jingoistic pantomime that wouldn't be out of place in Monty Python. "Long live India," cried the crowd from one side. "Long live Pakistan," cried the other. The India-Pakistan border isn't the only heavily armed frontier in the region. Today, South Asia is one of the most fortified, fenced, and landmine zones on the planet. The barrier dividing Bangladesh from India, for example, is the longest in the world, fitted with thermal imaging sensors and guarded by drones via a satellite signal command system. 1,600 kilometres of fencing is currently being built to divide India from Burma. Yet astonishingly, a century ago, none of these borders existed. As recently as 1928, a vast swathe of Asia, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Burma, Nepal, Bhutan, Yemen, Oman, the UAE, Qatar, Bahrain and Kuwait were bound together under a single imperial banner, an entity known officially as the Indian Empire, or more simply as the Raj. It was the British Empire's crown jewel of vast dominions stretching from the Red Sea to the jungles of Southeast Asia, home to 1/4 of the world's population and encompassing the largest Hindu, Muslim, Sikh and Zoroastrian communities on the planet. Its people used the Indian rupee, were issued passports stamped Indian Empire, and were guarded by armies garrisoned in forts from the Bab el-Mandab to the Himalayas. And then, in the space of just 50 years, the Indian Empire shattered. 5 partitions tore it apart, carving out new nations, redrawing maps, and leaving behind a legacy of war, exile, and division. At the start of 1928, however, few could have imagined how rapidly the Indian Empire would unravel. To most, the Raj seemed an unshakable force, its dominion stretching across much of Asia. Indeed, on the very first day of that year, as snow, sleet and rain showered down onto the streets of London, the British Empire even tried for the very first time to contact extraterrestrial life. It had been a decade since the end of the Great War, and Britain was a country firmly looking towards its future. Aeroplanes were flying over the Atlantic Ocean, and there was concern about a new phenomenon called traffic. The British Empire was at its zenith, and now it prepared to reach into space as well. Britain's new public radio service, the BBC, had been founded a few years earlier, and as tens of thousands of people tuned in that morning, they could make out the voice of a man with a clipped London drawl. "Hello, all stars and nebulae," he began. "A greeting to all friendly planets circling with us on the everlasting tour. Have our waves reached you yet?" A pause followed, as the broadcaster waited for an answer to arrive from the stars, but none was forthcoming. "Reply, if you please," he entreated, but again silence ensued. "London's message to Mars, no reply received," was the main headline on newspaper stands that week. Instead of speaking to aliens, therefore, the BBC presenter changed tack and turned to address the people of the British Empire, from London to Toronto and from Cape Town to Calcutta. As well as addressing the colonies more generally, a message from King George V was specifically directed to the people of India, who represented 4/5 of the British Empire and 1/4 of the world's total population. "I reciprocate your earnest hopes."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?